My father said to me, he said, remember, it's your book, be proud of it, and I'm proud of you.
That's nice. So to own what you... I know, it's... Fathers are a special thing, aren't they?
They often giggle and tell me that their mothers didn't allow them to read my early books. They were too risque and so
Shobha
on.
Day was Lady Chatterley's lover. How do men respond?
But they've always been terrified of me, which suits me fine. I think it was Mumbai Mirror who
Huh.
called and said that we've been called there because they're coming there to blacken your face and to humiliate you, etc. And there's quite an angry, hostile mob.
You meet the Prime Minister at,
Yes.
at an industrialist's event.
Yes.
And he has a little bit of a friendly chuckle in his exchange with you.
Yes. I have no political agenda. मुझे किसी से कुछ लेना देना नहीं है, and that's my strength.
Shobha, at 76, you clearly are insatiable, like the title of your latest book. But let me start in an unusual way. Let me start where people usually end conversations. Any regrets?
None at all. I'm very Frank Sinatra. Because there's no point in looking back.
Yeah.
There's nothing that you can redo. And I'm very, very much a creature of the moment. I'm in the here and now. Right now, I'm talking to you. That's all that matters. And I have a laser-like focus on the now. The future, again, is not within
But
my
we all
power.
make mistakes, right? Or we all look back and say, oh my God, I wish I hadn't done that, hadn't said that, done that differently. Never, not for a
No,
moment.
the mistakes are done with. I've dealt with them and I've moved on. So the point of looking back and saying, oh, I wish I'd done that differently, the point is I didn't, right? You live with your mistakes. You live with decisions which have backfired. You've paid the price. You've done your time on those decisions. And I just don't have that kind of bandwidth to invest in looking back and saying, I could have done it differently. What's the point?
What have you paid the price for?
A lot of decisions.
Give me one example.
Personal, emotional choices you make. Most women make. They're always their last priorities themselves. But that's not a regret because all my choices have been informed choices. It's not that kisi ne jabardasti ki or held a gun to my head. These are all choices I've made knowingly that, okay, this is the payout and this is the payoff. And what am I opting for? So, yeah, career choices.
You speak about the sort of romanticization around female sacrifice.
Yeah.
When I was researching for our conversation, I was reading a lot of old articles about you.
Yeah.
And some of them were so sexist, they would not be written today. But back in the year dot, Tarun Tejpal, now out on bail in a rape case, says about you, she's got everything she wants but acclaim. It's her good looks that sell her books. Do you remember that review?
Extremely well, because I did get a chance to get my own back, which I rarely do with anybody. Honestly, I can absorb the worst. I mean, the worst things. And you're talking about sexist reviews. And back then, nothing has changed. Nothing
They would
has changed.
they would still say this kind of
yes, they would.
crap today.
Oh, yes, they would. And very often, for example, at LitFest, I think I've given a pretty good presentation. I've talked about my work, my life, but the questions at the end of the day will always come from guys, also a few women, who would say something about my appearance, my looks, my like I'm almost like a medical miracle sort of walking around. I feel like a freak show, like a museum piece. But to get back to Tarun, many, many years later, at that point, I didn't respond. I never respond to
But what did you feel when you read that?
No, when I read that, I said, what a swine. Honestly, I just felt, what a spiteful man.
Yeah.
And then it was done and dealt with, but it was always there.
Yeah.
So when he wrote his book and I was asked to review it many years later, he's a very, very good writer. You can't take that away from him. He's a terrific writer. We've made our peace and it's no longer something that when I see him in public, I'm going to say, oh my God, you awful, spiteful swine of a man.
But that's
Not
what you
at all.
think of him.
But I did
Is that
back
what
then.
you still think?
No, not at all. I don't care anymore. I'm completely indifferent, like I am to 99% of people around in our kind of, in media. But back then, so when I got the chance to review his book, I mean, I had a one-line thing, which I said, what a pity his looks won't sell his books.
Touche. And also look at how life turns, right? He gets implicated in a rape case.
Yeah.
He's now living his life in the shadows, and here you are still insatiable at 76.
Well, yes. I mean, if one looks at life in such hard terms, I don't. I look at my colleagues, a lot of them who were kind of almost dancing on my grave with the first book, and continuing with my columns and my writing, which I've never stopped. So it's 50 years of writing in the public space without missing a single deadline. I'm proud of that. And when I look at their careers and their career graphs and where they are today, it's not that I feel kind of a sweet
Schadenfreude?
Oh, no, not at all. I don't look at it and say, well, look at you, honey. No. But yes, it does occur to me that whatever they wrote me off so many times.
Yeah.
But I never really let that stop me, or it didn't keep me down. So when even senior female colleague at that time, Bachi Karkaria, she wrote a really, it's always, Barkha, the first review sets the tone for all the reviews that follow, especially if it comes from a voice that matters back then. And that was 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, here is a woman who's also a good writer, extremely intelligent, very successful. Why would she tear down someone's work on a very personal level? I just thought, my God, I was kind of taken aback.
What did she say?
I think her review was called Days of, some punning, her usual kind of annoying puns. Days of Wine, WHINE, and Poses.
Achha.
Okay, but it had nothing to do really with my work, my writing, the book. It had more to do with sort of stripping me of my personality. It was a personality analysis of my life.
Yeah.
And, well, Bachi's around, I'm around. We meet and greet, and that's it. So it's always your colleagues who are your
worst
and harshest
enemies,
harshest critics,
snidest.
Yeah, but honestly,
Who cares?
I've never cared. It's not a kind of defensive thing that I'm saying.
Yeah.
It is absolutely the way it is. Because that kind of care in investing in people like, whether it's him or her or countless others like them, it drains my energy, which I'd rather keep for something more meaningful than people who don't really matter in my life.
When you weren't sort of being spoken about in this snide way, you were being stereotyped, in particular by the Western media, the Jackie Collins trope, Queen of Porn. I found that one also. And then I discovered, which was quite interesting, that you were the first woman to use the F word in print.
Oh, this is
emerging in the LA Times,
wow,
the profile of you.
I like
from
it.
From the 1990s.
I like it. I don't even know it.
There is this image of Shobha who writes, from socialite evenings, socialite nights, socialite evenings. Sorry, socialite evenings. I should have known that, which slipped my mind for a second. From socialite evenings to writing about the inside, the truth of marriage, to writing about sex, scandal.
Yeah.
And you were
and India, don't forget.
And India, and you were
and women,
and you were sometimes asked that ye sab hota bhi hai. Have you made up a fantastical sort of fantasy place? Yeah. And you would often say, and you have often said, this happens. I know women like this. I know men like this.
But looking back, I can understand, because it was in India no one knew existed. Outside of Mumbai, there was no social media. If I were to now talk about Parmeshwar Godrej and one and only, there can't be another Parmeshwar Godrej, larger than life in every sense of the word, generous, glamorous, gorgeous, wealthy, Her parties, I mean, in the world would be hard to beat. Her level of hospitality, her generosity.
And Imran Khan is a best friend.
And and resident guests like Imran Khan and Richard Gere and various international, Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah.
It was a life which was charmed, yes, but it was a life that an average Indian had no access to or would even believe existed. So if I'm talking about Malabar Hill, they imagined that I was actually recreating Beverly Hills and just with a new name, like Malabar Hill.
Yeah.
All the people who I did interact with closely in the 70s and 80s were people I had created. And it was a world that was a fantasy world, like it was certainly not happening in India, but it very much was. And I had a ringside view of it. Most of the time, I would have preferred to be a fly on the wall, but it was like an insider's track on a life that it was fabulous and beyond glamorous and beyond anyone's kind of limited sense of how the rich and the wealthy live in India. But the rich and the wealthy today lead very different lives. It wasn't that kind of life.
What's the difference?
The difference is a kind of neo-conservatism and it's very pious on the surface.
Yeah.
And it's also a less, I would say...
Free, unfettered?
Unfettered, probably unfettered, but also too many layers and too many veils, which didn't exist back then. But then, of course, social media didn't exist back then. So privacy was something that was guaranteed. I mean, you went to all these amazing parties with amazing people, and it was understood that
it would not be on Instagram the next morning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there'd be no pictures, and there'd be, no kind of writing about what you actually saw.
Well, you birthed, in a way, the celebrity writing genre, but more on that in just a moment. Women.
Yes.
Women at the heart of all of these books. 25 books now? 25 books? Extraordinary. Amazing. Women at the heart of these books. How have women readers responded?
Incredibly well. The young today.
Yeah.
The young women of India today. It's such a rewarding feeling because they come to my books without any baggage. They often giggle and tell me that their mothers didn't allow them to read my early books. They were too risque and so on.
Shobha Day was Lady Chatterley's lover.
Sort of. But the mothers and their fathers certainly hid those books and read them greedily. But the children weren't given access to the books. But of course, they managed to read them like all of us did when we were kids. We'd look for naughty stuff wherever we found it and, devour it. So when they read my books very differently, they see it as empowering books for women who have agency over their sex life, their professional lives, their emotional lives, and are not ready to be treated like doormats or walked all over. And I find that a lot when I do readings across, whether it's at LitFest or bookstores or the kind of the feedback I get when I'm at an airport and just young women come and talk to me. And that I find is gratifying, but it's like a gift. I just feel all of this has been worth it.
And how do men respond?
Well, they've always been terrified of me, which suits me fine. I don't know. They still think of me as some sort of a dragon lady, which also suits me fine because I'm really not interested in dealing with interested men. Let's put it that way.
But I'm sure a lot of that happens.
Not really. No.
Really?
No.
Too intimidating?
Yeah.
For them?
No, they don't. They've never ever approached me except to say, yes, the really sweet and simple men who don't come with urban hang-ups approach me and say, my wife is a great fan of yours. That's very sweet. They go and run and buy a book. It'll always be, please sign it for my wife or my girlfriend or my daughter. Yeah. But they'll never have the himmat to say, I'm your admirer, sign it for me. Yeah. That hasn't happened.
Now, celebrity writing. Before there was Pink Villa and, all the rest of it, there was Stardust. And you effectively you birthed Stardust.
Yes.
Neeta's Natter, I am still old enough to remember reading it as a child for all the latest in filmy gossip. This idea of, the inside lives of movie stars, how did this come to you?
I can't claim it was my amazing soul idea. It was really Narihira's baby. And he was, I guess, shrewd enough, smart enough to understand that a young 23-year-old girl, hungry and dying to prove herself.
You were 23?
Yeah. And, who had a certain sassy way of expressing herself. That was already there. That he or no one can create. That was the way I was.
Yeah.
I was wired that way. I remain that same girl who has, often insights which are childish perhaps, but acute. And it was his format. It was not my format. I was working as a copywriter for him, and he decided on this format. Stardust, even the name I thought was a ridiculous name because it was named after a nightclub in Las Vegas or something like that. Or the song, Nat King Cole, I think it was. But it made no sense to me. So when he said that he proposed to start a magazine of that kind, I said, what a dumb name. I mean, to him directly, I said, not dumb, I didn't use that word, but I said, I don't agree with the name. He said, no, that's the name I want. And it was really like a challenge to photoplay and header hopper. And that was his inspiration was clearly that.
Yeah.
So we were following a format. It's just that I did it my own way, like back to Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
And the style, the writing, it was not me going out there and gathering all that gossip because I never left my office, which was at, the building still exists at Kalagoda.
Yeah.
It's a heritage building now and
Yes.
houses Anita Dongre.
How interesting.
Yeah. But it was a smelly little dilapidated building. It was his brainchild.
Yeah.
That I took it through. I had a great team, also young and eager and quite interested in being a part indirectly of showbiz. So they came back and gave me their nuggets and I rewrote the column. But it was not me sitting there and,
How did the
making up
stars
stuff.
react? And were there no-go areas? Like, who was the most intractable, nasty star to write about?
They all were extremely sensitive at that time. The biggest superstar, and I'd say that again, was Rajesh Khanna. We called him the phenomenon, and no one has quite matched his fame, his popularity. The love affair that India had with that one star. It was much before the Khans were the Khans and any of that. Nobody loved Stardust because till then it was kind of PR, treacly, saccharine journalism, except for Devyani Chaubal, who was in a league of her own.
That photograph with her black hair till here.
And her white saris and her Raj Kapoor fixation and her obsession with Kaka, as she called Rajesh Khanna. She was a character, and I believe there's a movie going to be made on her, which is only fair given what she did start. But her reach was a little limited because she wrote for Star and Style.
That's right, yeah.
And then other than Devyani, there was Baburao Patel, but that was plain. And there was, of course, Rusi Karanjia with his Blitz.
With Blitz,
And then Cine Blitz subsequently. But it was all goody-goody journalism by and large. And here came Stardust, which is kind of brash and brazen. And there was certain audacity and a swag about the writing. And the stars initially resisted. They didn't want to be, what shall I say? They didn't want to be featured. But when they realized, because it was a kind of runaway success from day one, and it just galloped and overtook all the others, Filmfare included, then the power of being seen or ignored became the decision.
Did some stop talking to you after a story?
I never met them anyway.
Never.
I didn't attend a single premiere. I didn't go to a single film party. I didn't attend. I was never on a film set. I didn't interact with them. I was the remote dragon lady sitting there, the big cat in the cat house, call it whatever. So if they wished to meet either me or Mr. Hira, and I still call him Mr. Hira, it was never Nari. It was never never. He was the boss, and it was his show. They would come to that office. And, if they dared to walk up those rickety stairs and meet either him or me or the team, because of course he had his own space, but we all sat together in one space. So they would literally be walking to the cat house and meet all of us all together.
What's different from then and now?
The stars are different.
Like today, you have a whole genre of airport photographs, right?
Yes.
For example, they come out to the airport, there's paparazzi there, right?
That paparazzi are not just there, they're summoned there.
It's all choreographed.
Completely. There's a set of paps who are the airport paps who are on speed dial with the managers of all the stars. See, the big difference is in those days, they had secretaries. They did not have layers of management managing them.
Yeah.
So you could speak to the secretary, you could speak to the star and set up your interview, set up whatever, photo shoots.
Yeah.
It's not the same now. It's much more, in a way, corporatized. And they're following the Hollywood model of imaging, positioning, how they want to be perceived, etc. So the airport looks, all of it is done because the stylists are on the job. They are approached by big brands. And the stars are approached by big brands who throw clothes at them, throw whatever it takes at them. And it's about commerce.
Yeah.
It pays off for all of them. So if you're not photographed at the airport, then you're a nobody. But the point is, a lot of the young starlets, which is the sweetest story, are never taking a plane to anywhere. They come with a trolley, they come in an Uber.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I think it's very sweet because of the pressure.
What do they do?
They bring a trolley, they hire an Uber, they come to the airport, they're at the departure gate. One of their boys or girls, whoever's with them, they take a picture of that and they distribute it. Now, if someone picks it up and runs it as an airport look, great. If not, what have they lost? Nothing. What does it cost them? Nothing. But they are not going anywhere. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Now,
I think that's very charming in a way.
Now tell me, because you exude a kind of unapologetic authenticity. That's the phrase I would use. And I think it's very charming and it's very compelling. But how do you keep that in this fishbowl, in this, because even if back then you can see I worked out of a dilapidated room, I never went to the premieres, I never went to the parties. But today, you are at all of those parties.
No,
you
I'm
know
not.
all the famous people. Okay, you know all the famous people. You are perceived from a distance to be part of the glamorous world that you sometimes chronicle. My question is different. My question is, what keeps you real? Who keeps you real?
Me. I mean, I know who I am, right? I don't fool myself. My family doesn't let up on me for 1 second. I mean, the minute they think I'm flying a bit high, I'll be sharply corrected and put down. Mr. Day paid me a compliment, which is quite rare. And I said, see, I'm clever. He immediately said, stop it. What did you just say? So, I'm so glad that these checks and balances exist.
Yeah.
But more than anything else, honestly, it's knowing yourself. You know your limitations. You know who you are. You can't fool yourself. I've never fooled myself. I know I can do this much and I can't do that. And I don't even want to try. At 76, I've made my peace with so much about my life. And it works for me. But this glamorous bubble, this fishbowl existence, as you talk about, a lot of it is perception. Because, yes, of course, I'm invited to all these great and wonderful parties in Mumbai, and there are at least 5 a night these days. There are. I mean, that's the kind of money there is. And it's astonishing.
Yeah.
If I were to tell you that there's one single restaurant in Mumbai which has a turnover of 2 to 3 crores a night.
Wow. So people have a lot of liquid cash to be
I walked
around.
into that restaurant just to see it for myself, because when I heard these numbers and I heard that they're doing, and that's on a slow night, it's 2 crores, on a weekend it's 3 crores and more. I said, this can't be true. I mean, what is it that works for this place? Who are the people there? Because my kids had also gone with the same curiosity. It's Bastion.
I can say that I've eaten there once. Yes.
No, it's the new Bastion. It's
I've eaten the old one.
No. This is 21,000 square feet.
Okay. Next Mumbai trip.
I mean, it's not even reality. You walk in there and say, where am I? You have a 360-degree view of the city. You see the ceiling, all of that. But it's the people. So when my children went there the first time, they said, and they do 2 seatings, that's 700 at each seating, that's 1,400 covers in one night. And they have a waiting list of people waiting downstairs on the road in Dadar, which is like the heartland of Mumbai, the old Maharashtrian conservative, the equivalent of Bhadralok, living in Dadar. And then you have this. And there are people coming in their, the Lamborghinis and Aston Martins and you name it. Who are these people?
I want to ask you.
I have no idea. So I was so intrigued. I did a walkabout. I just looked at all the tables with naked curiosity. I mean, I was in a state of mild shock. I didn't know a single face.
Really?
700 diners out there, young, with ordering bottles and bottles of tequilas for the top of the line tequila brands for their tables. Each one spending up in the lakhs, but complete strangers.
So new money.
It's money.
One assumes.
I don't know whose money it is. I have no idea. But it was absolutely fascinating because a lot of them, because I've spent some time in the ladies' room, because I love overhearing conversations as a writer. You're always picking up cues of what women are saying to each other from those little cabins. And the conversation was primarily in Marathi, Gujarati and Hindi, no English at all, which was refreshing because the money has shifted.
Yeah.
And the levels of confidence, these ladies were dressed in clothes that, the stars all popularized, were like really couture, but made in Dadar kind of couture, but mimicking what even the pop stars are wearing. So they're wearing extremely revealing, very fitted clothes. The men are wearing the same, what they'd probably see Ranveer wearing. So there
Hopefully
are
not in Rocky or Rani.
Oh, exactly Rocky.
Exactly Rocky.
Exactly that. And so there's this crowd and no one knows where that money is coming from. No one knows who they are and they don't care and they don't know who you are, which is even better. So the sense of entitlement that once existed in South Mumbai, today no one gives a damn. On the other hand, these people, whoever these people are, I saw them throwing their weight around. I saw them, the same old thing, do you know who my mom, just speak to my mom, come on. Do you know who my mom is? I'm hearing this boy saying to the guy saying, but you're not on the list, sir.
Yeah.
He said, no, I have a booking. Speak to my mom, speak to my dad. You see what I'm going to do to you guys. I'm going to shut down the place. So nothing that,
just an old elite has been replaced by a new elite.
Yeah, but the old elite wouldn't need to do that.
That's right.
That's the big difference.
That's right.
Yeah.
But let's take you back a little bit. You grow up arguing with your father for being too conservative, in your opinion. Do you find, because we all tend to become variations of our parents as we grow older, do you find that you have become a version of the same father that you argued with as a teenager, or are you much more chilled?
Chilled? No chance.
No chance.
No.
Not a chilled parent?
Not at all.
To a brood of 6?
Not at all a chilled parent. I don't want to be my children's friend. I am their mother.
Okay.
And that's very clear. So there are boundaries. And I'm not about to say, okay, come on, guys, let's do shots together. No. No chance. I think I'm becoming, in a way, my father was extremely progressive on many levels. Conservative, yes, but
strict maybe is a better word.
Strict is a better word. But I had a broader vision for. I would say if he was giving in that zamana an equal opportunity with the limited funds that he had to all 3 daughters, to make sure that we were not deprived of the same education as my brother.
Yeah.
If funds were allocated for him to go to IIT in Kharagpur, which he did, and excelled. My sisters excelled. They one became an ophthalmic surgeon and another became MA, LLB, blah, blah, blah. I was the youngest, so nothing much was expected of me and I didn't disappoint anybody.
Yeah.
I did not very much because, that was just the slot I took for myself because I wanted to do what I wanted to do and not become an IAS officer. But I would say my father was strict. A small example, my sister Kunda had given me an easel and paints, oil paints, which from her meager allowance as a stipend from when she was training to become a doctor, because I was good at art. I'd won the Shankar's Weekly and many art contests, and art was always there. It's something I found like self-expression.
Yeah.
So I would be in the balcony of our Churchgate flat where people going to work, a lot of babus and students and people would be walking past and look up and see our second floor balcony.
Yeah.
And there'd be this girl with her wild hair, this gypsy woman. And I did paint nudes. Okay.
Really?
Yeah. So when I say...
Like life drawing lessons sort of thing? Or
Just
nudes, imagine.
Imagine.
Achha, okay.
Yeah, I wanted to draw what I wanted to
Yeah.
draw. Another female
Yeah.
form.
Yeah.
I thought was so beautiful. But he stopped me from doing that. He was embarrassed. He said, his colleagues passing from Niche se, his office people seeing, they could see the easel and all that.
It was a different generation.
It was. No, in retrospect, I get it. So I stopped. And in a way, what if I hadn't stopped? Is if you ask me.
Yeah.
What if I had pursued this? Or I was a competing athlete.
Yeah.
Okay, I was picked for the nationals. I was a state record holder.
Wow, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yes. So it was, I was an athlete. I represented the state also in hockey and later in college, basketball and so on. When I was picked for the nationals, it was a straight no.
Why?
Because even when I did go to play matches or compete before being picked for the nationals, my sisters would accompany me, one of them. Now, they couldn't drop their medical studies to accompany me to Patiala. That's where the nationals were there. So it was just a straight out no. So I said, I could have been PT Usha, who knows? Because I'm not being boastful, I was that good. And I held the state record for
So
100
that
meters.
must hurt to have to give up two passions, athletics and art in the way, even if it was drawing nudes, it was art. It was for
And
you.
it still is for me.
Did you pick it up again?
No, but I know that I can go back to it because I know it's there.
But what did he say to you? Ki mat karo. Like, what did he say?
No, he just said it's not happening. Basically, it was very firmly said that you can't.
And did you resent him for that?
Yeah, I did. Or my fixation with Elvis Presley, for example. It was like an obsession fixation. My 75th birthday was dedicated to Elvis Presley. I got the most wonderful impersonator, Mehmood Karmali, who does Elvis impersonations, to come and just sing the whole night for me. So, and a few friends.
Yeah.
And we danced to Elvis Presley the whole night. I couldn't have thought of a better way to celebrate my 75th. It was dedicated to Elvis because it was, it's not just worshipping someone for being who he was, what he represented. His birthday is one day after mine. I felt I was Elvis. I am Elvis. I still feel it. I still feel that Elvis vibe within. So he disapproved. I couldn't listen to that. We had a radio, I think, Radio Ceylon airs. Radio Ceylon
had the request night music.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I would wait for someone to request, and his songs were always top of the pop. So they always had Elvis Presley playing 1, 2, 3 numbers at least. I would put that on at a volume where I would actually my ear would be to the radio to listen to that voice because we didn't have records, we didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
But he didn't like the vulgarity of because I'd cut out pictures and put them, wherever I could. I had scrapbooks with Elvis the Pelvis. I loved him. He couldn't get it, and he discouraged it to listen to that kind of music.
Yeah. So, do you think that a lot of your writing is about women? Yes, but it's also about desire,
of course,
dreams. Right?
Yeah.
Fantasy, expression.
Yeah, of course.
Do you think in part it was maybe, now thinking of it, a reaction to your father putting a lid on so many of your own desires?
It could well be, but I haven't gone that Jungian or Freudian into my own life to blame it all and pin it on my father.
How did he feel about your books then?
Well, that's the good part. That's why I said his conservative thing when my first book, Socialite Evenings, which did not have any explicit sex. I don't know what people were going on and on about. It was just about a woman sort of taking charge of her life and walking out of a marriage, not because he was abusive, not because he was a drunk, not because of any other reason, but because she was bored.
Yeah.
But boredom, it was not considered a legit enough excuse, right?
Yeah.
So it was a strong book, which is also, again, the protagonist... basically, it's women making choices. Yeah. So choice for a woman itself is dangerous. I mean, people are threatened by any woman who makes any kind of choice without either society sanctioning it or parents. So that book, when it came out, and that remained my practice for all the books while my father was alive. I would first give the first copy of the book. I would place it for Ganpati because I'm a believer, and I would seek blessings. And the next book I would take to my parents' house and give it to my father. My mother passed before him. And I would touch their feet and ask for blessings. By then, the nasty, hostile reviews had already come out.
Yeah.
So he knew it was a book which was kind of going to generate heat.
Yeah.
And he was still, he was at that point, he was a senior legal counsel for atomic energy, working directly with Mr. Baba, and in that kind of a backdrop and background. And there would be people coming up and saying, what kind of Rajadyaksha sir, ye kya apne ladki ne kya likha hai, kind of a thing. I'm sure he faced it.
Yeah.
He said only one thing to me, which has stayed. And I can say that also about my husband, because he faced the same thing when my books, Dilip has always faced that. Earlier, not anymore. So my father said to me, he said, remember, it's your book. Be proud of it. And I'm proud of you.
That's nice. So to own what you... I know. It's... Fathers are a special thing, aren't they? I wish I could leap across and give you a hug, but thank you for sharing that memory. You said Dilip had to face it too.
But of course, I mean, what is your wife writing? But he's more than capable of handling that and worse.
What would he say?
He's very much his own person. He would say, I love her books. And he would quote passages from them. And he didn't have to go into defensive mode, which would have been awful, or be apologetic, or explain any of it. It was just, trying to take me on, take a panga, and that too about my wife. Just try.
Yeah. So what kind of parent are you? You said you're not your children's friend. You're very much a mother. You have that distance of authority.
Friend, yes, in the sense that sometimes they say I am over-involved in their lives. So I said better an over-involved mother than an under-involved mother.
Yeah.
So
do you guys fight?
Do we fight? We do fight. The girls and I fight. Yeah.
Over?
With the youngest, I would say it's a world. I had her when I was 41. So there's already like almost 2 generations ka difference.
Yeah.
So her world I find extremely interesting, but also extremely confusing and troubling to handle. Because it seems like a world that's lived on Instagram and for approval and validation from everyone around you.
Yeah.
Though she has a very strong sense of self and she knows exactly what she's doing. She's 100 times smarter than I am. That kind of worries me because I think young people are under tremendous pressure to constantly be 10 paces ahead of the game.
It's all so performative, right?
Very performative.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes that worries me. So a lot of our fights have to do with also the use of language, which I don't mean 4-letter words or any of which they don't use in my presence.
You're strict like that?
Yeah. They don't smoke in front of me. I know that they do. They are social smokers. But they think, mom wouldn't understand a word like tobacco, which, I've studied French for 8 years. So that's their code word. And they look at each other and say tobacco. And I look the other way and pretend I haven't heard. So yes, you make compromises.
Yeah, sure.
But there's not a single aspect of their lives that does not interest me. If they find it intrusive, I know also when to back off. But I can never, never be indifferent to the smallest, to their twitch and twinge or anything about their lives deeply impacts me and I'm interested.
Now you speak about, maybe a generational clash or a 2-generational clash with this age of Instagram.
Yeah.
You began, copywriter, yes, but you also modeled. And you modeled with Zeenat Taman.
Yes.
And there's this beautiful photograph that you shared that I think Zeenat sent you. And you said we used to do our own hair and makeup in those days, right? So the reason I bring this up, I want you to talk about those years, but also that you've also always lived in the public gaze.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So let's talk about those years.
The
modeling years.
Yeah. For example, the public gaze, because I was competing athlete, I was in the papers all the time, long jump record, track thing and all of it. It sounds immodest to say it, but it's a fact that at inter-school, those athletic
Competitions
meets,
or whatever,
I won every single championship till the senior year, starting from a kid. So I did have cheerleaders, all of them from boys' schools, like St. Mary's, and all of them now who are now my age. Now come and tell me we used to just come and watch, come to the stadium to watch you run or jump, and they'd always be shouting my name out. Back then, so the public gaze or public attention was something I took for granted. It never made me lose my focus on when I was on that track. It was to win, to go to the winning tape. And that was my focus, not the guys yelling from the stands. So public gaze is something that I can brush off. It doesn't bother me.
But the modeling years?
The modeling years, again, were something precious and valuable, and I loved them because I just...
Were they cruel to women?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Expected body type, expected...
Nothing. Nothing. I mean, look at my contemporaries, apart from the beautiful Zeenat. There was Murli Deora's wife, for example, Hema Deora. She and I were the sari models because we had a certain look, which is at that point. The people we worked with were just amazing. It was like working with a family unit. There was never a question of indignity or feeling objectified or feeling nanga in front of anyone, or even the gaze of whether it's the photographers or the entire team. I have never experienced that. Aditya Roy Kapoor's mother, Salome, and I often shared rooms because she was also a dancer. So we were roomies, and we were the two goody girls who were not partying after the show. And she would be braiding her hair or oiling her hair, and I'd be doing the same, and we'd be, sleeping by 10 o'clock or something like that. We grew up with a sense of trust. It wasn't what it is today at all. And doing there was no money in it. Then I used to model a lot for the Miss India shows.
What did they pay models then?
350 rupees.
Really?
5,000 rupees for a campaign if you're lucky.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Did you leave it because you got bored, or?
I was bored. I'd done it for 5 years. I'd done every conceivable, the top campaigns of the time.
And some of those photographs are iconic.
They're really fabulous when I look back with our own makeup. I used to use poster paint on my eyes to create that look with the white, the twiggy look of the 70s, 80s, whatever it was. We'd copy that from pictures we'd find and then draw the
contour or whatever.
With poster paint. So
amazing.
I'd do our own hair in whichever manner we could. We'd get, the fake buns and stick them on.
Or whatever.
Then our fake jewelry, the baubles which we collected, because we had to bring our own. Nothing was provided. So we just learned, and it was fun.
It is an extraordinary life, but what's also very unique about you is that you are not scared of expressing an opinion. This can be about a movie. Even today, if one follows your Instagram account, you often share your opinion on a series. You don't pull your punches. If you don't like it, you don't like it, even if you know those people socially. And sometimes that can land you in, I don't want to say a soup because that's taking it too seriously, but you had a mob at your door, right? Quite literally, for only saying, what are they going to do next in Mumbai? Serve vada pav instead of popcorn. And the controversy was about a mandatory Marathi movie being screened at theaters in Mumbai. Now, this sounds funny when I recount it like this, but actually there was a violent mob at your door, a threatening mob. You clashed with the Shiv Sena of that time, when it wasn't split in the way that it is today. Tell us about that time.
But that wasn't the only time the goons came after me. They've come after me many times. But that was the most public. Because they had issued those threats publicly. And it was only because of the kind of goodwill I enjoyed with a young crew person from, from Z News, a young Maharashtrian girl, who phoned me and said the mob is coming to your home.
Because, of course, the cameras had been invited by the mob.
Of course, they called up everybody. The same thing had happened. I was doing a book launch for Shekhar Gupta at Crossword, at Kim's Corner. And I said, Shekhar, I've just been told by my friends in media I think it was Mumbai Mirror, who called and said that we've been called there because they're coming there to blacken your face and to humiliate you, etc. And there's quite an angry, hostile mob. I called Shekhar. I was actually on my way to the event.
Yeah.
And he said, no, we have our own security. Don't worry about it. There's nothing. There's no mob. There's nothing. Kuch nahi. Someone must be just, kind of
messing with your head.
Yeah. So I said, okay, fine. I'll be there in 20 minutes. 10 minutes later, he said, turn around right now and don't go back home. Go wherever it is, but don't go home.
Okay.
Because there is a very hostile mob. And I was only afraid they'd break glasses and hurt other people.
Yeah.
So, of course, I turned around and I left, and I didn't want his event to be interrupted. So, these are not isolated cases. So, when you're targeted, you're targeted.
Yeah.
So,
does that make you think again before speaking?
Not at all. Not at all.
No
Honestly,
fear?
No
fear?
No.
Explain that.
No. The minute you do that, you give in to bullies and you show your vulnerability, they're on top of you. And for me, I still believe so strongly in our judiciary. And I will go to unless I'm physically assaulted and it's too late, then there's nothing one can do.
But that can happen.
That can happen, of course. But are all of us going to keep quiet? Because that can happen.
Yeah.
No chance. No chance. It upsets my children.
Yeah.
But I said, there's no way I'm going to self-censor. Because what I'm saying, I speak on behalf of hundreds and millions of citizens. I have no political agenda. मुझे किसी से कुछ लेना देना नहीं है, and that's my strength. They don't pay my bills.
Yeah.
I'm not subsidized by anyone. And as any citizen of the country, I have a right to say what I'm saying. As long as I am not being abusive and I'm not leading to sort of rioting on the streets, I'm not inciting mobs. It's not, some sort of violence that I'm an activist. I'm saying, take to the streets and ye karo, wo karo. I'm merely a woman saying what I feel. If that is denied to me, then how can we even call ourselves a democracy? But everybody's lips are zipped. Completely. More so in Delhi, but also
You think
Mumbai.
more so in Delhi? I think more so in Mumbai.
Not Mumbai so much. Because
Delhi's still a political city. Like, people talk about politics. They may not express their own opinion. But Mumbai seems like, please don't ask us anything political. Like, the first thing that a PR manager will tell you when you go for an interview is,
no
please
politics.
don't ask, no politics.
Yes. Yeah, to give you an example, you may be right actually.
Yeah.
Because I was just thinking of when Zubin Mehta came to Mumbai.
Yeah.
And all he was talking about was, I hope my friends from the Muslim community are safe in India. That's all he had said. That line was deleted from his interview for lack of space. Just one line was knocked off, saying there's no space in the paper to carry that one line. That question did come up when he was talking to invited guests, and he was in conversation with Karan Thapar, and Karan Thapar did raise that. And Zubin did want to explain himself to say that it wasn't meant to be anything provocative.
Yeah.
When people from the audience shut him up, saying no politics, and they told Karan, these very elite people in a very fantastic setting were there to worship at Zubin's feet, but they did not allow this person, Zubin, who's a legend and has nothing at stake. All he was saying was what he said.
Yeah.
And Karan just merely asked him to explain what he had said. And they shouted both of them down. They had to end the interview. So yes, you may be right.
So let's go back to that mob at your door for a comment on a vada pav.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We can laugh about it today, but you actually went down
Yes.
and met this mob?
Yes. Because
what happened?
No, I said, I'm not a coward. I told the cops who were all over my house, they said, don't even go to the balcony. They can throw stones and you can get hurt, etc. So I went to the balcony, I saw these guys and I said, मैं नीचे आ रही हूँ. So the cop said, are you crazy? कुछ भी हो सकता है. Why do you want to do this? I said, I want to ask them कि problem क्या है? I want to ask them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here hiding in some bathroom of my room while you guys are out there. But why can't you deal with it? I understand you cannot. But if they have come to threaten me, I must know what they're threatening me about.
And then?
So I did go down. And so I asked them. So they looked at each other and said, Madam, हम तो आपको वड़ा पाव खिलाने आए हैं. What they actually said was, we are going to go there and gag her and choke her with the vada pav.
Are you serious?
Yes. That was the threat. So they brought itna bada tokri of vada pav. Say, with said Shiv Sena ka vada pav or whatever it was. So I said, please dijiye, I'd love to have it. And I took a picture of the thing, and I tweeted it saying, delicious, thank you very much. I said, sabko distribute karenge, aaj sab khayenge. And they were just hired goons.
Yeah.
So
they were stumped at this
reaction. They were stumped and what do we do?
Yeah.
Because, she's right there. Are we going to drag her out?
Yeah.
The cops were there. And she's not saying anything rude to us. Yeah. And so they all laughed and, said, raised a few slogans, Shobha Day, hi, Murdabad. Then the cops bundled them off. A few were thrown into the police van and that was the end of that. But there was a contempt notice. That was the trickier one.
Yeah.
So a contempt of court notice where I refused to apologize.
Yeah.
And that created quite, because you know how contempt works. And if you refuse to apologize, and I moved the Supreme Court.
And what happened then?
It was a landmark thing.
Yeah. I remember this case now.
So I won that round.
Yeah.
But what if I hadn't? Then they march you off.
And that's the point, right?
They march you off.
A lot of people would say, hey, Shobha, chup hi baitho na. Mat kyun bolte ho?
Haan, chup hi baitho. But that's not an option.
That's not an option.
It was never an option.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Now, you meet the Prime Minister at an industrialist's event.
Yes.
And he has a little bit of a friendly chuckle in his exchange with you.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So I'm dying to meet him again because he has a memory like, an elephant would get a complex from what I hear. And a phenomenal brain. And he retains every single conversation he's ever had with anyone.
Yeah.
So when I did meet him, and the host tried to introduce us, he said, "Inka naam suna hai, sab kisne nahi suna hai." So he said, "Saalon se inki गालियां सुन रहे हैं." He said that. I said, "Sir, मैं किसी को गाली नहीं देती, but criticize जरूर करती हूँ, करते रहूंगी."
And
so he was a bit taken aback, but nothing. He never loses a beat.
Yeah, correct.
And I said, but
and his communication skills are masterful.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, and I said, because of our differences as far as you're concerned, sir, शादी में भी बहुत problems हो रहे हैं. So he looked at Dilip, held him, and he said, "Jhagarte raho." And he hugged him, he called the photographers, and he put his arm around. Dilip continues to be an admirer, which is his
personal
prerogative.
Yes, absolutely.
Nothing. I was kidding that, if it leads to arguments, which it still does. Then I said, "Acha, on this great and happy note, let's try a selfie."
Yes.
He said, "Yes, let's do it." But I can't take selfies. I tried.
Really?
I can't. Hopeless.
But he was happy to stand there and get...
Oh, yeah. He said, "No, it's funnier what happened."
Yeah.
So I said, "Sorry, sir, but mere se nahi ho raha hai." He called the entire room. He said, "Dekha, suna, zindagi mein first time Shobha Day fail ho gayi."
That's a great story.
Fabulous. But, and
were you charmed as a critic or a sometime critic?
No,
were you charmed?
I can completely get the charisma.
Yeah.
I can completely get how he reads a room, how he reads his audience, whether it's one room or it's thousands of people.
Yeah.
So for me, he continues to be someone who fascinates me, his personality, because from what one knew of him before, even as chief minister, then his subsequent history, which is in the public domain, to see him now like on top of the world, like, master of the universe.
Yeah.
It's been phenomenal. His learning is phenomenal.
Yeah.
His presence of mind is phenomenal. His sense of self is phenomenal. How he can command and disarm just about anybody that he chooses to.
Yeah.
So on a one-on-one basis, it's very hard to say, "Oh my God,"
to be immune to that. Yeah.
You have to be objective and see it for what it is.
Of course.
Which is obvious to anybody. I mean, you can't be that blinkered. Your views about certain policies, ideology is a different story. What you feel, which I do feel very strongly about and write about. But the man and his riz, no one can take that away. You cannot. His riz, yeah.
You clearly keep up with the language of the
Thanks
times.
to my children. Because they say, "Oh, mom, that doesn't mean that. Please use it in the right context," etc. Yeah. So I like to keep up.
Now, I like to end going back to the beginning. Why did you not want to be called Shobha? You were named Anuradha. Yeah, I discovered that recently.
But I had no choice, right? Because I was my given name was Anuradha, which I still feel very Anuradha.
What does that mean? What does it mean to feel Anuradha?
You know,
and not Shobha.
Shobha is so pedestrian. It's so banal. I had 6 Shobhas in my class. It has no individuality. It has nothing. It's just so vanilla. Shobha, I mean, come on, Shobha. Says nothing. I hate it. Anuradha is classical. I like to feel classical. And it's beautiful. I love the name and the resonance it has with me.
So how did you
it's
go
my
from
nakshatra.
Anuradha?
So I obviously there must be a connection to how I feel with that name, Anuradha, because Shobha is not there is no nakshatra called Shobha.
Yeah.
It has no connection to my time of birth, for example. So, yes.
So how did you go from Anuradha to Shobha?
It was done by my
Anuradha is
uncle.
your given name.
Yeah.
And then what happens?
My uncle decided that Anuradha Rajadhyaksha is too long a name and, it's going to be a problem in school, which is rubbish.
Yeah.
Because my sister Mandakini Rajadhyaksha is equally long,
Yes,
longer.
yes.
And she didn't have to change her name.
Yes.
And no one changed it for her, rather.
So
but
in your
mine was
mind, do you
changed.
feel that you're an Anuradha or a Shobha?
100% Anuradha.
That's so funny.
Yeah, Shobha is a brand.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's I stand apart from a distance and I watch this brand and I'm often very amused because the brand has very little to do with who I am.
Has Shobha De Urf Anuradha changed?
I hope so. How boring it would be to be stuck at.
But has
on
it
anything or
fundamentally
anything.
changed? I mean, you've always made this comment about how at heart you're this middle class
Maharashtrian girl from Satara.
Raghuram Rajan, who you famously said
Yes.
brought the sex back into the sensex.
Yeah.
He was here and we asked him and he kind of blushed. And I said,
Yes.
what happened when you finally met her? He said, we were both a little awkward. I do think she's quite like how she speaks or how she writes. She's quite conservative. Is that really the
That's
case?
very insightful of him.
Is that really the
because
case?
he was embarrassed and shy. I was embarrassed and shy because I'd never met the man. So, I'd written that piece. I was in Goa and the Economic Times guy, I think it is Bodhi, he phoned me there and said, why don't you do a tongue-in-cheek fun piece on him? I said, I haven't met him. He said, that's okay. Write it in your own style.
Yeah.
So, I called him James Bond and I called him 007 and I called him all sorts of stuff.
Yes.
It was like, women and humor and satire, you may notice,
Yes.
not just in India
Yes.
or in Asia, in the world.
Yes.
It's not the best marriage. People don't get
Yeah.
it. If you're satirical or sharp, it's not understood. Similarly, this was not understood. And I thought it was fun to kind of objectify a guy. I mean, he's cute. And he did have a position which the whole world was looking at him at that
Yes.
point.
Yes.
Much was expected. And they would do it, I would imagine, to an attractive woman who got into a position of power such as he did. And there would be comments on her saris. There were always comments on Chanda Kochar, for example, her wardrobe, her jewelry, her hair, her personality. Every woman in a position of power gets that treatment, negative or positive.
Yeah.
So there's Nirmala now.
Yeah.
So if women can be talked about and objectified in that manner.
And you yourself have been all your life.
All my entire life. At
Yeah.
76, people are still talking about, my body parts, which I find in a way very amusing, but also a bit repulsive.
Yeah.
But so that it's fun to objectify men. It's really great fun because some of them take it well. I mean, particularly even actors who take their shirts off and get themselves hosed down and, the same way as women did stand under waterfalls. Well, they're doing it with men today.
Yeah.
And I like the way Ranveer Singh turned that on its head with that dialogue where he says, I like being objectified and look at me and you can, keep staring or keep gawking, ogling, whatever he says.
Yeah.
I liked the self-parody is a very attractive quality. Most people who become very famous completely miss out on seeing themselves in a way that is not worshipful. They start worshipping themselves.
That's right.
And I find that very comical and pompous, and it's such an off-putting. It's so unsexy to be so self-aware.
So what did you say to Raghu when you met him?
No, we were both really awkward and shy, and we did namaste, and Kate Middleton was right there, and so was her. Then, the William. They were doing their India trip. So, and there were a lot of people.
Yeah.
Everyone's minders were all over. There was Madhuri Dixit, there was her husband, and it was a small group, and it was very awkward. And we both really felt rather embarrassed, but I still admire him. I think it's a huge mistake if he's actively getting into politics. He's not cut out for that at all. And his mind is not in sync with today's India. Let me put it
So
that way.
you would not want to see him in politics?
No, because I think his energy should be saved for something more worthy, more worthwhile, and which will be enhancing his own brand.
Yeah.
Because this will, I think, maybe
dilute his brand.
Yeah.
Among your 25 books has also been a book that says it tells the truth about marriage, spouse.
Yes.
How did Mr. Day react to that book?
He underlined several lines. And he's got that underlined copy. Because a lot of it you tend to cannibalize, your lives of people you live with and your children.
Yes.
I think, fortunately, mercifully, they don't read half my books. They've not read.
Really?
Yeah.
Does that bother you?
No. Even Insatiable, where each one, all they could do was you've given her 5 lines and you've given me 3 lines, and my reference is only about that, whereas her reference or his reference. So it's very clear, how you feel about all of that. I just ignored it because it's my book. I said, if you have a problem with this, write your own book.
Yeah. But he didn't react badly.
No, not at all. In fact, he gifted it to a lot of people because he related to the truth that was in it. Yeah. That I was not glorifying anything. It's saying it like it is.
But you've spoken about marriage being a kind of dying institution while being contentedly married.
Yes.
Explain that.
Yes.
Is that a paradox?
Not a paradox exactly. I think it's a sign of our times because people want out very quickly. They don't give themselves a chance.
Yeah.
I can say that in hindsight with, more than 40 years clocked in. Some of it, so many turbulent phases. But the commitment never ever was in question. With a lot of young people, that C word doesn't exist. Yeah. Commit to what? Yeah. They're committed to themselves. Yeah. And if things don't quite work out as per their terms, on their terms, their requirements, then outies, So they don't quite get it. Yeah. Or even to actively opt for saying, I'm very happy being single.
Yeah.
Especially a lot of women who are saying it today and opting for that. It's a choice they're making, of course. But it's a tough choice. The world is cruel to women, single or otherwise. Yeah. Doubly cruel to single women. Yeah. More than doubly cruel if the single woman is of a certain vintage. Mm-hmm. Then the age thing kicks in, her attractiveness, her not being in the sexual market anymore. And if she's successful, has money of her own, then resentment about her success. It's not the happiest place to be in. Being a woman itself comes with its own kind of baggage that...
Does age scare you?
Yes.
Does age scare you?
Scare me? No.
Do you feel vulnerable?
No. I'm only afraid of it impeding me in some way.
Physically,
mentally. Yes. Yeah. But do I feel... No, the reason I wrote the book at 70 and then again at 75 was to break through that mold, that the age as a cage for women. Yeah. To tell them that it's really okay. Nothing should stop you. If your brain's working, if your body is functioning fine, nothing on earth no one can tell you, you can't do this, you can't do this. Do whatever you want to do. And do it with pura dil laga ke. Live life like that. Because, you're here today, who knows?
Yeah. I want to end with what David Davidar said to you when you started writing. He was at Penguin. You just started out and he said, Shobha, nobody wants to read anything written by women.
Yes, he did.
Here you are 25 books later.
Yeah.
When he said that to you?
Yeah. I was stupefied. Yeah. I'm dumbstruck.
Yeah.
But it was accurate. He wasn't saying it to...
Out of his own bias, he was making a statement of fact.
No, it was a market survey.
Yeah.
It's not something he was saying to goad me to write the book. He said there simply is no market for women's books. No one is interested in the voices of women. And in a way, he was telling me, you can change it.
Yeah.
And I hope I did.
Absolutely. May you always remain insatiable and continue to delight us. Thank you.
Thank you. What a lovely, lovely interaction. Love it as always. Thank you,
Thank you,
Barkha.
Shobha.
Thank you.
Thank you.